going on, Jeromes? It's an absolutely beautiful and gorgeous Monday, and it's time for some Q's and some A's. Thank you, everyone who submitted questions. Let's fire this up. Lucas Mulder, how will we do without Flores next year? He's clearly one of a kind. So, a couple factors here. I don't think that Flores takes a job just to take a job. Like, I don't think that he takes the Raiders or the Bears or the Saints or the Jets or the Cowboys job. Right. I think that there's two jobs that he will leave for. The Giants, who had interest in him before they hired Brian Daboll, born and raised in Brooklyn. He's got Sexy Dexy Lawrence. He's got Brian Burns. They're going to have a high draft pick to draft their quarterback of the future that Flores can have a good relationship with, as well as they're going to have a new GM coming in at the same time as Flores, so they can work hand in glove together. Also, legacy franchise, stable-ish ownership with the Maras and the Tisches. So I think that the Giants make all the sense in the world. Outside shot of the Patriots, like I don't see Robert Kraft doing Gerard Mayo dirty after one season. I don't. But the Patriots would be interesting because that's the franchise that he cut his teeth with, came up with. He played ball at Bass in college, as well as you got Drake May in place. Plus, he got some nice defensive pieces with Gonzo and Barmore, etc. So that could be interesting. But I don't think that I think right now he's like 70-30 going to stay. Roughly, because I mean that Giants job is just going to be way too easy. But if he does leave, I do think that the Vikings have developed some nice talent around him. So he talks about linebacker coach Mike Saravo a lot. Now Saravo obviously could go with him too, but someone stepping up as a play calling defensive coordinator versus just being the coordinator in title only, because Flores is probably still going to call plays if and when he gets another head coaching job. I mean that's certainly part of it. Also, Durante Jones. So Durante Jones, Flores has worked with extensively, and they do have a similar aggressive philosophy. DJ's been the Vikings defensive backs coach for a couple of seasons non-consecutively. He had 1 year where he was LSU's defensive coordinator, so he does have coordinating experience. I think that Durante would be the next man up if Flores does get a head coaching job. Or, I mean, Durante could go with him. Don't know, right? But I just don't think he's going to leave the cycle unless it's for the Giants or the Patriots. We'll see. Eric Anderson, Mr. Anderson. Should the Vikings try and get a long-term deal done with Andrew Van Ginkel this offseason? So Gink is going to be 30 or 29, 30, somewhere in there. But, I mean, he's definitely showed his chops, and he should be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. 8 sacks, 2 pick sixes as well, and just is a factor at every single game. Now, the Vikings did sign him to a 2-year, $20 million deal, $10 million per, $10 million guaranteed. He is 29. He's going to be 30 next season. So, I don't know, like, there is a concern about durability with Van Ginkel. He does get a number of veteran days during the season, and it seems like there's always something minor going on with him injury wise. So, do you extend him because he deserves it, or are you wary about extending this contract out where he's going to be into the wrong side of 30? Later on. Now, you certainly could tack on 1 or 2 years and give him a nice signing bonus and prorate that out over the contract. The Vikings do have the cap space to weather that next year, and I think that would be good because Van Ginkel has obviously outperformed his contract. But I understand being wary of the situation and seeing how things play out the rest of the year. But yeah, I love that Andrew Van Ginkel has been a major part of this defense. But I kind of go back and forth, because you could extend him now, or you could just wait until this season is done and see how next season plays out. If he stays healthy, extend him, for another 1-2 years. Either way, keep him in purple a long time, because he and his family, of course, from Iowa, so they're localish here, and would love for him to retire in purple in a couple of seasons. Next, Wesley White. Mr. White, what is the main difference you saw with Sam Darnold against the Titans as opposed to the Jaguars? Here's the thing about the Jaguars game, and this sounds stupid, but outside of the interceptions, he played pretty good. And, those interceptions were obviously just him forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson. With the Titans, I felt like he was a lot more comfortable. And, yeah, he was Charlie Skedaddle on the run quite a bit because he had to, because the offensive line didn't give him a ton of time. But he wasn't scrambling just to scramble, but he was very smart about it. So he would move slightly to buy some extra time, keeping a clear throwing lane, keeping his eyes downfield. And when something wasn't there, he didn't just force it, which I think that he would have in previous weeks. He tucked and ran. He had I think a season high 8 carries on Sunday, as well as he spread the wealth around. He had 9 receivers with a catch on Sunday. Would have been 10, but Jalen Speedy Naylor was just like, no. See, that's like the razor thin parts of it, where if Naylor catches that, it's a 30-13 beatdown as opposed to a 23-13 suspect win. So I don't know. But Darnold, I mean, the analytics and the eyeball test, everything bears out. That was his best game in a Vikings uniform, and frankly, PFF says that that was his highest graded game in his career. Like I haven't watched enough Sam Darnold with the Panthers or peak Jets, but I mean, it could be safe to say that that was the best game of his career. The Vikings don't win that game without Sam Darnold, right? And the Vikings can do a lot of damage with this version of Sam Darnold into the playoffs in high leverage games. Next, Hunter Bell. Should Dalton Ryner be the starter moving forward at right guard? If so, what's the plan for Ed? So Ryner allowed 2 pressures, 0 sacks, had a tough draw in his first return to NFL action, first time playing right guard in an NFL game in his 6-year NFL career. Yeah, but the Titans with Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat. Now, the Vikings O-line wasn't great on Sunday outside of Brian O'Neill. The run game struggled. Darnold was under pressure, but you do wonder if Ed Ingram was in there, and Simmons was lined up between Bradbury and Ryner all day, so that was part of the game plan. So I wonder how bad it could have been, but Ingram has one more year left on his rookie deal, and he'll be a backup, and he'll learn, and hopefully I think that he can develop from this, because the traits are there, and maybe this break is exactly what he needs to refocus and recharge and just get back after things. But I do think that Ryner gives the Vikings the best 5 offensive linemen out there with Cam Robinson, Brandel, Bradbury, Ryner, and Brian O'Neill. All right, so I think that they'll roll with Ryner the rest of the way. Lastly, ENF, do you think we should start sitting Aon Jones like a game or two down the stretch? And not that he's playing bad or anything, but it seems like he hasn't been himself recent. Make sure he's healthy for the playoff run. He was a game changer in the playoffs last year. Yes, they should. His last 5 games as a Packer last year, including the playoffs, he had 5 straight 100-yard games, 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys, ripped off 6 yards per carry. So everyone could tell, like he's not right. Physically, whether it's the hamstring, whether it's the ribs, whether it's whatever, he's not right. And I don't know if the answer is just reducing his carries, because that's kind of hard to do. But Cam Akers looks really good. Cam Akers looks fantastic right now. So honestly, if it took sitting Jones for a couple of games to get him 100% or lead the way into the playoffs, that he's going to be 100% ready to go for the first round, do it. Do it, because that's what matters most. And Jones, before yesterday, was on pace for a career high in touches, and we said, like, you can't have that. Like, I understand that it's fun running him early in the season, September, October, but that doesn't matter. You want him in January, February, right? So I actually do think that maybe sitting Jones or severely restricting his snap count is going to be the name of the game for the Vikings down the stretch. But that's it. That's at Vikings Q&A for this beautiful Monday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.